John stood in the bathroom, the hum of the fluorescent lights a dull drone in his ears. He splashed water on his face, trying to shake off the day's weariness. As he looked up, he noticed something strange in the mirror. It was a subtle darkening at the edge of his reflection, a fleeting flicker in the corner of his eye. He paused, heart skipping a beat. The darkness remained, a smudged silhouette clinging to his reflected form. John shook his head, attributing it to fatigue and the tricks of flickering light, but a sliver of unease wormed its way into his mind. Taking a deep breath, he continued his nightly routine, trying to ignore the unsettling presence in the mirror. Yet every time he looked up, the shadowy figure seemed to have grown slightly larger, its edges more defined. The next morning, John woke with a start, the events of the previous night flashing before his eyes. He rushed to the bathroom, his gaze immediately drawn to the mirror. The shadow was still there, a dark doppelganger clinging to his reflection. As John raised his hand to brush his teeth, he noticed the shadow mimicking his movement. It was subtle at first, a hesitant echo of his own actions. John froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He moved again, this time more deliberately, raising his other hand. The shadow followed suit, its movements becoming more fluid, more synchronized with his own. A cold dread settled over John as he realized this was no trick of the light. Something was terribly wrong. Days turned into a terrifying routine. John tried to avoid the bathroom, to avoid looking in the mirror, but the fear was a constant presence, a suffocating weight on his chest. He couldn't escape his own reflection, the dark figure that now moved with an eerie autonomy. The shadow no longer merely mimicked John's movements, it had begun to act on its own. A tilt of its head, a slow, deliberate blink of its non-existent eyes. John watched in horrified fascination as the shadow stretched its arm, its shadowy fingers splayed, reaching towards him. He stumbled back, heart racing, as a cold, unseen wind swept through the room. The mirror was ice-cold to the touch, a conduit to some otherworldly realm. John knew he had to do something, but fear had him paralyzed. Section 4, trapped in terror. Sleep offered no escape. Nightmares plagued John, visions of the shadow growing larger, stronger, breaking free from its mirrored prison. He woke each morning in a cold sweat, the line between reality and nightmare blurred. One evening, as John stood frozen before the bathroom mirror, a new wave of terror washed over him. The shadow was gone. He spun around, searching the room, his heart hammering against his ribs. Then he saw it. 2 points of light, like malevolent eyes, glowed from the darkest corner of the room. The shadow had detached from the mirror, and it was now hunting him in his own home. Section 5. The shadow's grip. John tried to run, to escape the encroaching darkness, but the room seemed to shift around him, the walls closing in. He could feel its presence, cold and suffocating, drawing closer. The air grew heavy, the temperature plummeting as the 2 points of light pulsed with an evil energy. He tripped, falling to the floor, his eyes squeezed shut in terror. He could hear the shadow moving now, a slow, deliberate slithering that sent shivers down his spine. It was toying with him, savoring his fear. Then, silence. John opened his eyes a sliver. The 2 points of light were directly above him, their glow intensifying. He felt a searing pain in his chest, as if invisible claws were tightening around his heart. Section 6, Eternal Reflection. John gasped for air, his vision blurring. He could feel himself being pulled, dragged towards the darkness. As his vision faded, he saw his own reflection in the mirror one last time. But it wasn't his face staring back at him. The shadow had taken his place, its eyes now burning with a cold, malevolent light, stared out from his own reflection, a triumphant smirk twisting its shadowy lips. John was gone, consumed by the darkness, his essence trapped within the mirror's depths. The bathroom was silent once more, the only sound the faint hum of the fluorescent lights. The mirror hung on the wall, reflecting nothing but the empty room and the lingering chill of an unspeakable terror. The shadow had won, claiming its victim and merging with his reflection. And in that mirror it would remain, a haunting reminder that some reflections are best left undisturbed.